Fixer family, it's Charmin. Welcome to Fixin' 2. I wanted to share a little peek into what we're going to be making today, and I took my challenge that I gave last year for Valentine's Day to shop your stash. So that's what I did, and I'm excited to bring it to you today. Let's go ahead and get started. So for this project, we're going to be using this wood heart that I've had on hand for a couple of years actually. We're going to be using some of these leftover chipboard hearts, some of my twine that I have, got a thicker one and a thinner one, not sure exactly which one I'll use, our Rust-Oleum stain that I've had forever, and of course we'll use a bit of hot glue. So what I did was I took this heart and I sanded off all of the glitter, all of the paper that the glitter was on and everything, and gave a wonderful smooth surface on both sides of this heart. I'm so excited at how it came out. So I'm going to go ahead and stain the little chipboard heart that I'll be using a little later on. We'll get it stained so that it can dry. And then I'm going to stain both sides of this particular heart, the big heart here. And I'll get it on there, and then I'm using the brush to create brush marks on it for a reason, because it makes it look like real wood. This is kind of like an MDF type of wood, and so I wanted to go ahead and give it that wood grain look to it. And so I'm going to do one side and completely dry it, and then I'll flip it over and do the other side. Now of course around the edges you can see that I left some of that white paint that was on there, and to me I loved the way that that made it a little more rustic. So I'm going to be using some of my mineral chalk paint in the color Mineral, and do a bit of a dry brush effect on both sides and around the edges. I wanted to use this color and do it super light because I really wanted that stain to come through the dry brush, and I just love the texture that it gave. It just is basically putting a little bit on the brush and then dabbing most of it off, taking your time to just really lightly brush over it. And I'm doing it in the same strokes or line as I did the stain, so that it would kind of keep with that same look. I love this. I don't know about you guys, but I really do love the way that this turned out. Now that I've done both sides and I've got them dry, I just was looking and picked a side that I thought looked best, because we're going to do a little bit of an embellishment on the front. Now this heart does have a little bit of a flat edge there so that you can set it on a shelf or wherever you would like to put it. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be wrapping this thicker twine around the heart from the bottom end all the way up to the top edge of the heart. And I'm just going to flip it over, put a little bit of hot glue on the back to secure the twine down on the back of the heart. And once that's good and set, then I'm going to take and wrap this 5 times. Oops, that just about got away from me, didn't it? And with bringing it up to the little top part of the heart, I'm separating it just a little bit and then bringing it close at the bottom, and I do this 5 times. Once that's done on the back, of course, we're just going to cut it and then secure the second piece or the other end of the twine to the back with our hot glue. Now that that's done, I'm going to take my thinner twine and I'm going to create what I call my twine flowers. And it's basically putting the twine into your hand, wrapping it around your 4 fingers about 12 times, and then once you slip it off of your fingers, you'll just cut it, kind of bringing it back down to the bottom there. You'll cut it off and then cut off another little piece of your twine to tie it up in the middle. Now what I do to it, I mean, you can do it however you want to, but I'll tie it one time, and then I'll wrap it around one more time and then tie it into a knot to make sure that it secures, that this stays together and doesn't come apart. Now that you have that secure, then you're just going to take your little loops, and of course you're making 2 of these, and you're just going to take the little loops and start kind of separating them, kind of spreading them out to make them, I guess you could kind of say, a little bit wider petals for your twine flower. You'll do that on both of these, getting them kind of to look how you want them. And then bringing it over to your heart, you see where I had brought the twine that we wrapped the heart with together? Well, that's where we're going to place our flower. So you'll just glue down one of these one way, and then once that's on there, then you'll take some more of your hot glue and glue it onto the top of it across it. I hope that makes sense. I think you can kind of see what I'm doing here. We'll just do that until it is set. Then we're going to take our little chipboard heart that we did here, and I'm taking a little bit of pink acrylic paint, just doing the same technique that I did with the other paint on the big heart, and I'm lightly just giving it a little bit of a kind of a pink hue, bringing in a little bit of that Valentine color feel to it, but still giving that rustic feel to this piece. And I absolutely love this little pink heart, and we're just going to glue it right there. So guys, tell me what you think of our little heart here that I think turned out amazing. Here's what you'll need for our next project. We're still using our gel stain. I'm also going to be using the Rust-Oleum primer in the color gray. I'm also using the Apple Barrel gray acrylic paint. It's pewter gray, I believe is the name. Also some burnt umber, and then folk art, gosh, say that 5 times fast, paints. They're metallic gold and silver. And then we've got some florals here, but as you saw in the sneak peek of it, I actually wound up using greenery and an X-Acto knife and some scissors. And we're going to be using 2 of these what are they, aluminum cookie sheets that you get from the Dollar Tree. I had them left over from a project I did this past summer. I will be using a little bit of twine. Now these were given to me by a friend of mine, so they're really cool and everything, but I don't know yet if I'm going to use any of this or some of this, but we shall see. So we're going to go ahead and start by preparing our aluminum pans. Now we're just going to be cutting some shapes out to create that super cute envelope. And I'm going to have all of the measurements listed down in the description box below for you. We're going to be, of course, trying to find our center, of course, from the long way of this pan. We want to find the center on each side, the short side. And the width of this is 6.5 inches wide. And I'm just using this little tool that I have that goes with my vinyl cutter, that it's a dull end, and so it's really neat for scoring this aluminum pan. And so I'm going to use it to mark all of my lines to show me where I need to cut it. Now you can see that I have created some triangles on the ends, or teepees, or houses, tops, whatever you want to call them. And then of course down the side, of course, we are measuring 6.5 inches across. So I've got these scored, and so now I am ready to grab my X-Acto knife, and we're just going to go ahead and cut this out. Now I have a cutting mat underneath me, so I can just cut it and it's okay with it going through, but you can also use scissors because this stuff cuts super easy. we have this one cut out, you kind of see the shape that I'm going for. We're going to go ahead and just round off these points on each end. And now that you've got those, we're going to set that aside and move to the next pan. Now this one, of course, is a little bit smaller, and of course they are more pointed, so to speak. It is 6.5. The square in the middle is 6.5 by 6 inches long, and then of course creating our little peaks. And we're going to leave those peaks pointed. So we're going to go back to our first cut piece, and we're going to measure up from where the straight line and the angled line comes together, and we're going to measure down 2 inches and score it and fold it up. Can you guys see how it's now starting to look like a little envelope? I think these turned out so cute. I'm excited about it. So on the second piece, you see how the first piece lays on top of it, and where you see my score lines, we're going to score it and then pull those 2 peaked sides inward to create the 2 side flaps for our envelope. See how you lay it in there? Fold those 2 over, and had to kind of score this side just a little bit more. It was not really scored in the right place to begin with, so I had to kind of go back over it. And of course I forgot to take the label off. So you pull that in, and there you have your envelope. So what we're going to do is just hot glue that back piece to it, and then of course on the front you'll just you don't want to hot glue it down to the backing of it, you just want it to kind of create a pocket. So we'll put a little hot glue up each of those 2-inch sides and a little ways up on the other side, and get that glued there so that it stays together nicely. And then once it's secure, you can kind of open it up just a little and create a pouch. So I took it out and spray painted the front with our primer, our Rust-Oleum American Accents primer. Didn't worry about the back because it's going to be hanging up. So I did the front. Now guys, I'm doing the galvanized technique that I've used a couple of times. I will make sure that I have that linked in the iCards above and also down in the description box to give you a more step-by-step detail on how I do this galvanized technique. It's super easy, just a couple of different paints and little makeup sponges and drying it in between each coat. So once we have that on there, I had this lavender and these baby's breath kind of left over from, I guess it was the spring or fall. I mean, I keep a lot of florals anyway. And I put them in here, and it was beautiful. Turned out so beautiful, and it just gave me ideas for, this spring, because this can be used over and over. But it was a little too springy for me, and I wanted it to be for Valentine's Day decor. So I kind of left that, and I'll show you what I did with it in a moment. But I went ahead and just took one of those, I guess you could kind of call it a medium size chipboard heart, and stained it, doing like I've been doing with all of the hearts today. Dried it in between there with the quick dry of my hair dryer. And then what we're going to do is create a little bow with some buffalo check, red and white buffalo check, gingham, whichever you want to call it. Just creating a little bow. This does 2 things. It brings in that Valentine element, and it also is going to cover up the little hole that's on the heart. So I'm just going to make this bow and then glue it right to the front of this envelope. And I really think that this really added a nice touch. Now I wanted a way to be able to hang this, and so I'm just going to cut off a little piece of my twine and kind of fold it over and make a little loop. And then flipping it over on the back, just simply adding some hot glue to this, trimming it up, and there you go, a real cute hanger. Now, like I told you in the beginning of this segment here, the lavender was beautiful, but I felt a little like it was a little too springtime. And so I took those out and put in some of my leftover boxwood greenery that I had. But guys, you can put roses, you guys can do whatever you want, little love notes, it doesn't matter. And this also can be used during other seasons and other holidays as well. I love this. So stinking cute. That you guys joined me today for these projects, and I hope that you enjoyed them as much as I did. They were some fun, simple projects that you can use anywhere in your Valentine decor for your home. All of these supplies today that I used in these projects I already had on hand. And I know last year I challenged everyone, including myself, to shop your stash. And so I decided just to go ahead and do it and see if I had some stuff to create some new fun Valentine's decor. And I think it came out really well. So I challenge you today, shop your stash, see what you have on hand, and see what you guys can come up with for your Valentine decor. Now, if you guys do shop your stash and you come up with some amazing projects, and I know you will, I would love to see them. There's two ways that you can show me what you did. One is by emailing me a picture of your project. I'm fixin2al@gmail.com. Or if you have an Instagram account, go ahead, upload it to your account and tag me in it. I'm Charmin_Fixin2. Super easy to find. So go ahead and do that and share your picture with me. Now, if you're just a little shy and don't want to share it out to the public, go ahead and DM me over there and just attach your picture there. So those are the ways that you can share them with me. I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. And if no one told you today, you are amazing. And always remember to keep looking up, because that's where it all is. I'll see you on the next video.